Kelly, how are the rest of the certs doing? I mean, the rest of the CPCs doing?
It's a mixed bag. Yeah, most of them are
Yeah,
doing.
it's always been that.
There's a couple that have a few issues. We're working on getting membership and getting a couple of issues solved. So
I think once we open up and we have in-face meetings, things pick up a little better.
right. Well,
Eric, I guess you know you're muted.
Yeah, I was just off to find the agenda that Kelly just posted for us. So, okay.
4 minutes.
All right.
Hi, Eric. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad everyone could join us. We have I just got off another hour-long Zoom meeting that ran 2 hours. So
That's why you didn't answer your telephone.
yes, yeah, I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll call Jill after this is over, and yeah, right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, welcome everyone. I think we have all of our folks with us, and
Except for Jeff, and remember he's out of town.
yes, yeah, Jeff is unable to join us tonight, but we have, I think everyone else is here. We have a number of folks in attendance, so that's good to see. All right. So I think we will go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone. Very exciting evening ahead. The first thing I'd like to do is the agendas. I forgot to update a little bit of our agenda. So instead of announcing our new CPC officers, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our 4 new council members. So joining us tonight as new council members, we have Karen Schwartz. There's Karen.
Hi, everybody.
Thank you, Karen. And we have Annie Cook. Excellent. Dr. Stephanie Mack is with us. And Rachel Donovan, Chaplain Rachel Donovan. So thank you to all of them and welcome to all of them. We do ask if you're not actively joining or speaking, go ahead and please mute your mic, as we do tend to get a lot of feedback. All right, and okay, so our first item tonight is an update from the Northwest Area Command. Commander Sanchez, let you tell us what's new and exciting in the Northwest.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Well, I guess I should make sure, can everybody hear me? Awesome.
Yep.
Well, hopefully everybody's doing good. Trying to stay cool because it is hot outside. Actually with that, I think that's where we'll start with, now that it's starting to get pretty warm, school's out, we're starting to go outside, and I think we need to make sure that we keep in mind some of the things that we talked about in the past, and just kind of being aware, making sure you lock your cars and get those valuables out of the car. The other thing, I know we discussed it a while back, was with the bosque, and when you're out there walking again, just be mindful of your surroundings. We are addressing a couple of issues at one of the parks up here where there's been a little bit of a concern with the gentleman that's been out there apparently just going up to females and just kind of scaring them a little bit. He ended up going to a house at one point, following the female to the house, and didn't say anything, but just kept following her all the way to the house. So be mindful, please. It's always good that people know where you know, that if you're going to go out to the bosque and walk around, it's always good just to let somebody know. Have somebody that way, if just, you know, you don't get home by a certain time, or at least that they can check up on you. But looking at the statistics, last month we had talked about where we had seen a little bit of an increase with their aggravated assaults. Just in this, the first 16 days of this month compared to last month, I think we're seeing some improvements. So we're seeing those go down. One of the things, again, these are preliminary numbers. One of the things that I was very, very happy about was our residential burglaries. If we keep where we're going right now, we have only had 5 that have been reported. And so that is being in the half of the month. That if we can continue, hopefully we don't have any more, but if we can continue with those, we will definitely probably have cut those by almost 50%, which is great. That just means, you know, our message from all of us to the community is getting out, that just make sure you lock your doors. The same thing with auto burglaries. So far we've seen a very, very large decrease in auto burglaries, which is great. But other than that, you know, we're looking good on that part of it. On the 22nd, again, I'll remind everybody that we are having coffee with the cop at the Starbucks on 528, which is right by where Lowe's is and Panera in that area. So we definitely would like to have you come out. We had a meeting today with some of the one of the regional security people from Starbucks that came down from Denver because we had seen a spike on some robberies. And so we're building some relationships with them that I think are important, because we're looking at trying to increase some security measures for them, and also work on trying to come up with the be able to use their cameras, and not necessarily use their cameras, but just when there is something that happens there, we our RTCC be able to tap into those cameras. How is this important to you? Well, as a customer of all of these businesses, you know, it helps us try to reduce anybody from being victimized at this businesses. We're also starting some of the business coalitions again in that area with the businesses, so that again our goal is to try to reduce some of these incidents from happening, not just to individuals but the businesses, because the less they get, the less money they lose, you know, the less likely our prices on the stuff that we buy are going to go up. So eventually it affects all of us. So that's, you know, that's something that one of the new things that we're doing. So if anybody has any questions.
I have a question for you, Commander. Is there any update on the gentleman that was found deceased at Western Trail in Unser? Is there any more about that?
No, and again, and those are the unfortunate things. I was out there when it happened with the lieutenant, and we don't have anything other than probably what's already been released. We got the call of, you know, a gentleman that was, you know, that was appeared to have been thrown out of a vehicle onto Western Trail. Officers responded. You know, it looks like there may be, it appears there may be a gunshot wound. But we have nothing else as far as where it may have occurred. We don't know if it occurred even here on this area command or it occurred somewhere else. Nonetheless, it's you know, it's pretty unfortunate that that's happened, and hopefully we'll be able to get more updates later on. I know our detectives are doing a great job, and they do a great job with those investigations. So
it is a homicide call out at this point, and
it is being treated as a homicide call out right now. I can't say 100% it is. At the end, sometimes things happen later on, but it is being investigated as a homicide, and all indications are that is what it is.
Okay, we do have a question that's come up. How does the Northwest Area Command handle the growing crime problems when critical departments, i.e. detectives, only work 4 days a week. I understand that's something the chief had addressed. How's that working out here for us?
And you know, and when we look at the, you know, that the detectives are only working, they're working what they call, and the reason that the detectives are working that is because they have such a huge caseload, and when the department wants to make sure that they get every opportunity to also have a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a family life outside of this, you know, their profession. And so it gives them an opportunity to have those 3 days. However, even though they may have those days, most of the time, most of them are on call. So they don't always get that up, you know, they are very busy. They put in a lot of hours. How it's affecting us and how it's, I don't think it's affecting us negatively necessarily, because I can tell you that they do a very good job with these investigations. Granted, we would love to see more detectives and more officers to help with that caseload, but they're actually doing a really good job with clearance rates. I know that for the area command, one of the homicides that we had up there off of Ladera, which was, I believe it was our first homicide that we had. My understanding is that they've already, for the most part, they've already made, you know, they already know and have a person of interest on that. I haven't checked to see if they already have somebody in custody, but I believe they already have somebody or have arrest warrants for somebody. So, you know, to answer your question, they still continue to do the job. And so, because we are seeing those clearance, at least in our area command, I can't say necessarily that it's affected us as the area command negatively. But I mean, yeah.
There was another question, or another part to the same or a similar question. We've had numerous vehicles and homes that have been broken into. Why isn't fingerprinting being done for each of those incidents? And
Well,
go
there are fingerprint, usually the auto burglaries and residential burglaries, an officer will usually call out a field investigator or a crime scene specialist to process that. It just depends. It doesn't happen. There's a lot of different scenarios why it may not. You know, the first thing that they look at is, okay, what, you know, when did this happen? Is there going to be, you know, has anybody else been going through the car? A lot of times when somebody has, you know, has already started going through the car and cleaning things up, by that time, a lot of the, you know, the latents have been, they're not going to be able to process it very well. Other times depends on the delay of the call. I'll give you a good example. We've had burglaries that initially the victim didn't want to report, but then they decided 2 or 3 days later, you know, we'll go ahead and report it now. And so those probably would not get processed. But I would say that probably about, again, this is just my estimation, that about 80% of them do get processed.
Okay, good. Thank you. Tom, you had a question?
Let me see it. Yeah. Yes, 4th of July is coming. I understand they want to crack down, they said, about legal fireworks. Is that going to fall on you or the fire department?
I think it's going to fall on both. Usually the fire department goes out. A lot of times in the past, what they've done, they've gone out. An officer has gone out with AFR. As far as this year, I'm not sure if they're going to have that again. It does fall on both of us. If we get the call, and depending on what it is, we may respond. I will tell you that there is going to be an event over there off of Ladera, I believe, and we're getting all the details where they are going to have fireworks in the Northwest also. So we are preparing for that. We're looking at some traffic plans. The traffic unit will be assisting and other divisions will be assisting. So just be mindful that we're also going to have an event on this side, and I'll continue to pass on more information as it comes out and when it's going to happen and how that's gonna work.
You mean at the golf course?
No, it's I'd have to get the exact location, but it's going to be they had talked about Albuquerque. I'm not sure if it's going to be at the golf course or not. I don't believe. I haven't gotten the final plans, but I did get notified, I believe it was last week, that they had made a determination that they were going to have an event out here on the west side. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, I saw a story, I think it was the news yesterday, about AFR is not going to be issuing warnings this year. They're going straight to citations. So definitely a serious concern for them and for all of us with the number of fires we were already seeing in the area. We do have a request, Commander, for additional speed enforcement on the Coors bypass in the area of Cottonwood Mall.
No, we'll definitely have some officers out there. I know that the traffic unit is still conducting some of their operations along Coors, and they do Coors, Unser, golf course at times. So they still do it every Tuesday and Thursday, I believe. And one of the things that we have now is each area command was assigned a traffic officer. So now we have a traffic officer from the traffic unit that's assigned to our area command. So when we get some of these concerns from the community, if they're not available, we'll send our officers. I know one of the biggest things right now, and I can tell you the data that we got already for 7 Bar Loop. There's definitely a concern. Other data indicates that there is a lot of speeding going on, and speeds up to about 80 miles an hour. So the officers have issued a lot of citations. My lieutenant was going to put all those numbers together. And this is where I really ask everybody that please pass on to your neighbors, your family, your friends, because I'm going to be honest with you. We get a lot of complaints on traffic, on speeding, especially in some of the residential areas, and I will tell you that 9 times out of 10 it's the residents that are living there, and at times at times it's actually some of the same people that are complaining about the speeding, and the reason I say that is because it's we have to take some responsibility, all of us. I have, as a commander, I have to take responsibility to make sure that you're safe and that my officers are there enforcing those traffic violations. But as a community member and as a resident, I have to take responsibility to make sure that when I'm driving my car, I'm checking my speed and I'm making sure. And so pass it on to everybody. We're not gonna, everybody's gonna get a ticket if they're speeding. So a lot of times just letting them know that they're out there hopefully will help us reduce some of that.
Excellent. And Brian Anderson had a question. I don't know if you can answer this but how do officers feel about open and concealed carry and the number of guns available or guns out on the streets in Albuquerque? Okay.
So I'll talk about the concealed carry. It's not against the law, except in certain situations. So if somebody is walking, in a public place where they're allowed to be, and they are carrying a firearm, and it is and you know, somebody calls in, let's just say, you know, hey, we think that person has a firearm on them. If it is not violating the law, then, you know, unless we're able to say that, hey, you know what, we need to approach this person, contact them, and determine whether they have a concealed carry or not. There's a lot of different things. We can't just go contact somebody just because we think they have a firearm, even if a call comes in, unless there is something else. You know, we see somebody going into a shopping mall or this, you know, and it looks like they're carrying a firearm. We may, depending on the circumstances, but we won't, you know, there has to be more. The same with open carry. You know, it's not against the law unless it is at a liquor establishment or something that prohibits firearms from going in there. Now, if we get a call, this doesn't mean that a private business or any private location, again, business or, you know, or even, you know, somebody's in your front yard, they have the right as the owner of that property to keep people from going on there with any kind of firearm. Now, if we get a call because somebody doesn't want to leave because they have an open carry, that is a violation of the law. And the violation of the law is that if a person who is responsible for that property says that you can't be on my property anymore because you're carrying a firearm and you refuse to leave, that is a trespassing. So there's other things that we can address. Now, I definitely won't get into the, you know, how officers feel about the number of guns that are out there, because our job as law enforcement officers, one is not to talk about what, you know, what, regardless of what, how we feel one way or the other. Our job is to keep the community safe. Our job is to work with the community, and our job is not to push, you know, I want to say a political issue one way or the other. That's not our job. Our job is to keep you safe and make sure that you're comfortable and enforce the laws. So, you know, it would be inappropriate for me to speak on behalf of every officer and how they feel about whether we have too many guns out there or not.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And I just to point out to folks, there's, as you said, open carry is legal in New Mexico for adults who are legally allowed to handle or to possess firearms, and that puts you know, it creates an unusual situation where officers may be called out because somebody feels that an individual is suspicious with their firearm, but there's nothing inherently illegal about that for most people. So it's, and if you want to carry a concealed handgun in New Mexico, it's not a difficult process, but it does require training and education, which I see some other states are moving away from. But in New Mexico, you can get that, you can get a concealed carry license if you go through the appropriate steps that do include training and a demonstration of ability. So,
And one thing I would like to mention, and again, you know, as long as there's no violation of the law, you know, we're not going to be contacting individuals. The one thing that I would ask is, you know, is that we do also do our best to consider other people in certain circumstances. I'll never say, hey, you know what, you shouldn't carry a open carry, especially open carry into these locations. But let's be mindful that at times, you know, we have to be aware of where we're going. Again, I want to make sure that everybody understands. I'm not saying don't carry your firearm, but be mindful. If you are going to pick up a child at a school, and you know, and you're walking down there, there's going to be calls. If you're, you know, open carry and you're going through, you know, into the mall, the mall's going to call because they don't allow it, but there's probably going to be phone calls coming in before you go in. Again, I am not saying don't do it. I'm just saying, let's just, be mindful that those could happen and you may be contacted by an officer.
Absolutely. All right. I don't see any other questions for you. Okay. No, we do have what is the process for tracking speeding in neighborhoods and installing bump outs? Paradise Skies has issues with speeding. 311 has been notified. They're told that it's up to the Northwest Area Command to handle speeding in that area.
We do. So we have 3 speed trainers, 2 that actually collect data. As you can see, given the number of complaints that we get in the area command with regards to speeding, we have to move those quite a bit. Right now, one of them is on Irving, and the other one, McMahon, and the other one's on 7 Bar Loop. So what we do is when we send those out, we look at the data, and we determine, because when we get a complaint from a certain area, once we set up that speed trailer, and we're able to say, yes, it is an issue, then we start looking at doing enforcement. But also, it allows us to address those areas where it's just a perception of speed. And that happens a lot. And it allows us, having those speed trailers allow us to be able to provide better resources, because if we get a call about speeding in a specific street, and let's just say it just happens that the call that came in, it was, obviously they saw a vehicle that they believed was speeding, or they've seen 2 vehicles, but then we set up and it turns out that, we have 50 cars go by, and out of those 50 cars, only 1 was speeding and it was only doing 5 miles over. Then is it really an issue, or is it the perception that they're speeding? And is it worth putting those resources there where we can go to the other ones? So we did get I didn't have the lieutenant pull the data from the highest number of traffic crashes, the intersections, with the highest number of traffic crashes, because we're also concentrating in those areas. And they are some of the same, Ouray and Coors, Ladera, Corsa and Montano. So those that are, have been issues in the past.
Yeah, I think one of the issues that we see sometimes is we do see individuals speeding, and very bad speed, as you said, 7 Bar Loop, some really outrageous speeds. But it comes down to that balance again of, is it enough of a problem frequently enough that enforcement is an effective means of dealing with it? And I'm not sure. I think the other part of the question about bump outs or other traffic calming, I think, is the Department of Municipal Development.
Yes,
Yeah.
DMD would have to, obviously, if you, and I'll send my email address there, or even Pete.
Okay.
If you send us an email, we can always forward it to traffic engineering to see, again, they also do studies, and they make their determination on whether it's it's an actual problem or the perception. Nonetheless, either one, it's like if you don't feel safe, then we still have to address it. There's got to be a reason for that, because sometimes the perception is just as bad as the actual crime that's happening. Because if you don't feel safe, then obviously we're not doing our job, and that's where we would do a little bit more educating.
Okay, absolutely. So yeah, if folks have issues, Paradise Skies, if there are specific areas or specific times, the more information you can give to the commander and Pete, the better they can delegate the resources. And I know we have around here, we're not far from Volcano Vista. And so we see Volcano Vista High School. So, at the times when students are coming out in the afternoon, we see speeding problems. I used to live near Cibola, And in the afternoons, you'd see a ton of pedestrian problems. So if you can provide information to the area command about when you're seeing these issues, if there's a consistent time and place, then it's much easier to delegate the resources and target those problems. So there's the commander has put his email into the chat for us. Okay, let me just double check here. There was a question about the actual fireworks rules. I would suggest calling 311 to get that information. They can provide you with the specific restrictions and what type of fireworks are allowed in the city. And I believe AFR does a pretty good job of inspecting the fireworks sellers. So if it's being sold in the city, chances are it's going to be legal to use here in the city. But definitely check with 311 to be sure. Okay. All right. I don't see any other questions coming up right now. So let's switch over to, thank you, Commander, for your update, and really appreciate that. Let's switch over to Sergeant Silva with recruiting for a recruiting update. Sergeant Silva, are you available?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
So we are moving forward with our classes coming up in December. We've got a lateral class that should start here in August, and a PSA class also starting in August. We have set a pretty lofty goal. We want to aim for 70 for our December class, so it's going to take a lot of recruiting. So we're really hopeful that anybody that knows somebody who's interested, let them know to contact APD Recruiting. We're still offering a $5,000 hiring bonus. We're going to need as many as we can to fill up these classes. I guess I don't really have much else. I mean, is there questions about recruiting?
I'm not
Pete,
seeing
if I
any
could-
right now.
Can I chime in
go
real
ahead.
quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Just want to let you know we currently have 50 APD cadets in the academy. We just started a lateral academy with 6 new laterals. And after a chief selection today, we filled the CNM class with 24 cadets, and we have 11 more already seated for our December class. And Sergeant Silva is right. We do have another lateral class later this year and a PSA class in August. And the goal is 30 PSAs.
Excellent. That's an awesome opportunity for folks to get involved with APD if they're not ready to become police officers yet. We have such an outstanding PSA program here. Really, it's a great opportunity. Go ahead, Karen.
Sorry, just one more thing. Just one more thing. Big thing that I'd like to make sure people are spreading the word about, and it still comes up quite a bit. We no longer require college degree to join as an APD officer, and I've seen that hinder a lot of people. They still call us thinking they couldn't apply because they didn't have a college degree. I myself don't have a college degree. I've been an officer for 16 years. I know many more that are in the same situation. I know that there was a big push way back that we wanted to see officers with college degrees. However, using myself as an example, I just didn't have that opportunity growing up. We weren't a very wealthy family, so without this opportunity, I wouldn't be where I am today. So we want to make sure that word's being spread out amongst the community that we do not require a college degree.
Excellent. Yeah, it's good to understand that, because we definitely have seen we've seen that change in just the last several years. We seem to go back and forward with different departments with how much education is necessary. So very good. Okay, oh yeah, sorry, go ahead, Karen.
Sergeant Silva, I have a quick question. Do you know what the current attrition rate is for the department? How many people are leaving as you bring in new ones?
So historically, it's been about 60 per year. I don't know where we stand right now. I know we've lost some in these last few months. I can't say exactly how many, but Historically, 60 is about the average.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you, Sergeant Silva, and also thank you, Lieutenant Saladin, for stepping in there. I don't see any other questions coming up. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us tonight and giving us that update. And that actually dovetails very nicely with our presentation for the evening, which is, we have Lisa Neal and Shane Treadway here to talk about the APD Academy. So once we get those recruits in and they pass through all of the selection process, they become cadets and they enter into the APD Academy. So welcome to both of you, and we will let you take it on and tell us about what's going on at the APD Academy.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having us tonight. I have a short PowerPoint presentation. If I can share my screen, I don't know if I'm able to, but it might give us something to look at besides just listening to me talk the whole time. So I'll pull that up. All right. Again, I'm Officer Shane Treadway. I have Lisa Neal with me. We're both instructors here at the Albuquerque Police Academy. We're basic training instructors. So after recruiting and backgrounds has gotten us good applicants, and they start their police training with us. The Academy's, the first official class started in 1950. I pulled some old pictures that we have here at the Academy of kind of what it looked like back then. The first class actually had about 7 officers, and it was 7 weeks long. And I've seen pictures of some of the handbooks, these little tiny pocket books that was given as training back then. So now the current cadet class is about 30 weeks, 31 weeks. So we have a sergeant, there's 6 basic training instructors. When we have staffing levels, then we're able to get 2 mentors who are officers, like seasoned officers from the field, who are able to help us out. So, and that's about it for the, between 40 and 60 cadets that we get for each cadet class. And we're able to run usually 2 classes per year because they're about 6 months long. The current class we have is the 124th cadet class. We started with 57, and we currently have 51 that are with us right now, and they're currently 12 weeks into their training. So they're moving along steadily, but they have a long ways to go still. Of course, our mission statement I have there, and really, I mean, we're, as instructors, we're responsible from taking driven individuals that want to be, police officers, and just kind of gradually developing them, both through instruction and physical training, and everything that comes with it, into a recruit officer that after they're done here at the Academy for 6 months, they can go into the field with a training officer for another 4 to 6 months before they are out on their own as kind of rookie officers and taking calls on their own. So it's definitely a process. It's a long process. Sometimes it takes a year to even get into the Academy, and then you're looking at least another year before you're out on your own taking calls. When we talk about comparing our Academy with what is expected from the state, so there's a few satellite academies around the state. The actual Department of Public Safety, their academy, the state academy, is in Santa Fe. It's a live-in academy, but basically the New Mexico Law Enforcement Academy requires 677 hours of instruction. So every class that you can kind of think of, law block, driving, firearms, all of that, 677 hours, which is good. And that's, a lot of maybe smaller departments can only afford their officers, to go to that academy. At APD, there's a lot required out of us, a lot that's expected out of us, very high expectations. So this current cadet class 124 will complete over 1,000, almost 1,100 hours of instruction between the state material and APD material. And that's pretty consistent. The last class was just over 1,100 hours, I think 1,107. Like I said, about 31 weeks, depending on holidays that fall in there or other activities. This cadet class is going to work Balloon Fiesta. So that's a week of their training, or a week basically that their graduation, will get pushed back a week so that they can participate with Balloon Fiesta, help out with Balloon Fiesta. So about 31 weeks of actual training for our cadets for this class. I'll just mention some of kind of the bigger blocks of instruction that our cadets go through. And then I'm happy to take questions. Both of us can take questions afterwards if you have specific questions about material. But really, it starts with physical training. We want to add some stress, right? Policing is a stressful profession. And the easiest way to do that initially is through physical training. Not just stress on their bodies, but in order to handle the stress of the job, it helps to be physically fit. So developing functional strength, task-specific body movement, stamina, critical elements of fitness required for optimal cadet training. So, we start every day with some type of physical training. It's not, some days are more rigorous than others, and some cadets come in more prepared physically than others, so they may have an easier time, but we're definitely, we want to meet the state standards. We're not trying to, build professional athletes here. They have a lot on their plate. The cadets are constantly in some form of stress. And so we don't want to give them too much. And it's a delicate balancing act on how much physical training we actually do in the morning or throughout the day, just depends. So again, New Mexico DPS, they require 64 hours of physical fitness throughout the academy. And then our cadets our academy is longer, but they'll a little over 118 hours of physical fitness in this academy for the 124th cadet class. So quite a bit. The driving portion, everybody's always curious about emergency vehicle operations. So 54 hours of training, basically they get 2 days of instruction, classroom instruction, and then almost a full week of actual driving, practical application. So they'll get that emergency response classroom instruction before they actually learn about how to drive the vehicle. So this is a shot of our driving track out on the west side of Albuquerque near Double Eagle Airport. I know it's a little hard to see, but it's from the top of a pretty tall tower that's out there, and that's almost the entire course. This is a shot of the overall course. So they'll learn all these small sub skills, so backing and slalom, accident avoidance, all these types of skills, and then they have to put them all together at the end of the week and basically pass a precision driving course. So it's a lot of fun. It's definitely one of the cadets' more favorite blocks of instruction that they get. But again, it's a long week. It's a long, 7 days of instruction. I know we had some questions when I was preparing this about scenarios, reality-based training. Again, we far exceed what the state requires of just, police officers in the state of New Mexico. DPS requires 16 hours. So basically 2 days of scenario-based practical training. And APD, we're lucky enough that we have the reality-based training center near Wyoming and Lomas, Wyoming and Copper. So our cadets will get 96 hours spread out throughout the academy over 4 different phases of just that reality-based training of those real practical scenarios, and get as close as we can to what the call may actually look like in real life. And then, those 96 hours don't count for the scenarios that we may do on our own here at the academy. We may practice traffic stops, for instance, here at the academy before we actually go and take, these kind of more realistic traffic stops at the RBT center. So those are our scenarios, our reality-based training. Community involvement. I had a couple of slides about our community involvement, our diversity training, working with the disabled, and almost every cadet class, COVID definitely kind of changed things a little bit, put the brakes on it a little bit, but almost every cadet class since I've been here has had to come up with their own community project, organizations that they want to help out with. But on top of that, we also, like I said, we'll help out with Balloon Fiesta. We've done Habitat for Humanity. You can see all these other things, Freedom Forth when it's around, Luminaria Tour when it's around, the Ashley Browder Memorial, we do that every year, every class does it. Blood drives, anytime there's a blood drive here at the Academy, instructors are usually donating, and we always ask for volunteers from the cadets. And usually, a third to half of the class participates in the blood drives. And then as instructors, we're always helping out with any of the junior police academies. Anytime there's a kids academy that comes up, we want to help out with those. Talking about the reality-based training center, we do a lot of the practical applications, I should say, of our crisis intervention training. So the cadets will get 40 hours of crisis intervention training and scenarios with professional actors here at the Academy. And then throughout the Academy, throughout these other scenarios, they're trying to put those skills that they've learned, those techniques, into use. And so it's not just, I think there's kind of a misconception about crisis intervention training that it's just when we're dealing with somebody who's maybe diagnosed with a mental health concern. But really, it's almost every call that when officers are out there, that they're communicating with someone and they're trying to show empathy, or they're paraphrasing what somebody said, or using those minimal encouragers to kind of gain that trust and show that we're on the same page, that we understand what that person's saying. So, I mean, that's where that CIT training comes in, kind of in everyday life. On top of that, we do have cultural diversity training. We have the state material that instructors will present here at the Academy. The Office of Equity and Inclusion does give a full day of different panelists to come in from different members of the community. So cadets get training from those different members. We have a limited English proficiency, a whole block of instruction on that. Mr. Rob from the New Mexico Coalition for the Deaf, he comes in and puts on a class for deaf sensitivity training. So, I mean, there's a lot of different cultural diversity training, CIT training that the cadets get throughout the whole Academy. And then it's on them to practice that when we have those scenarios. And then I know there was a question about CNM, our partnership with CNM. So far, we've had 2 classes where we've interacted with CNM, with cadets from CNM. APD will send usually about 20 cadets. So this time it's 24 for the next CNM class. But it's been around 20 cadets for CNM Class 1 and CNM Class 5. And again, CNM is one of those satellite academies. So they'll do 17 weeks of state material. They'll get state material just like they would up in Santa Fe if they were to go to the actual state academy. And then they'll transition here to the Albuquerque Police Academy, where we start giving them APD specific training. So far it's been pretty smooth. I mean, it's only been 2 classes. So, I mean, we're like in the infancy of this thing, trying to figure out the best way to do this, but that's kind of how we've worked it out so far, and it seems to be working. So like I said, pretty short. I'll end it there, but we're happy to take any questions. I know there's probably a bunch of them.
So we do have a question for you. Let me see if I can pull this back up. Okay, yeah. Dr. Mack was asking, can you be a bit more specific on the cultural diversity? So what you mentioned, the deaf community and some others. What about individuals with special needs or autism? our LGBTQ plus community. So can you go into a little more detail on those?
So during the, I'm trying to think. So CIT, our CIT unit, the detectives that come in from that unit, we try and have, sometimes, most of the time it's instructors, the 6 instructors that are here that teach a lot of the state material. But if we can, we'd like to have detectives from the different units who specialize in that to come in and teach the cadets. So during the CIT block of instruction during that week, those detectives come in, and the cadets actually completed it last week. I believe it was last week. They completed their CIT training, that first kind of 40-hour block of instruction. And during that, they get specific classroom time talking about autism or any other developmental disabilities. So I can't say it's the whole day or how many hours out of that day it is, but one of those days is devoted to that. And then during our cultural diversity presentation from the Office of Equity and Inclusion, they do have a specific member who's from the LGBTQ plus community that comes in, or that basically shares info with the cadets.
Excellent, thank you.
Can I add to
Lieutenant,
that?
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead,
Yes.
sir.
And another thing the CIT unit does during that week of training is they bring in paid actors who are trained to exhibit certain symptoms of different people in crisis, and the cadets get to identify that and kind of see it real life.
Yeah, that's one of the most amazing things about the reality-based training is the effort that the department has put into making that incredibly realistic and using people who are capable of demonstrating a variety of different conditions and doing it incredibly well. Really is a benefit. And is it the same person that represents the LGBTQ plus community, or does that change over different class to class type of deal?
I think it's been the same person. We just started working. I think the past 2 classes we just started working with the Office of Equity and Inclusion, and so I'm trying maybe three classes, and I believe it's the same person that they've reached out to every time. We let them select the panelists that they want, since they are they're protective over who they just source out to give that information, who they talk to. So we let them reach out to those people.
Absolutely, sounds good. If people had questions about or wanted more information about the diversity and inclusion training, is there someone they could reach out to at the Academy?
I mean, really any of the instructors here. So I'll leave my information.
Okay.
And Giovanna Burrell is our contact at the Office of Equity and Inclusion. She's really great. And they're happy to contact her as well.
Excellent. Yeah, I know this is a topic of concern for a lot of folks, and just if people have specific questions they'd like to pose, it's good for them to have for us to be able to send them to somebody who can get them the answers. And so,
Absolutely.
Excellent. Are there any other questions for? Are civilians allowed to sit in on any of the training classes?
No, and I mean we try and no, they're not. Short answer, right? The instructors, I mean, we get I don't know, I'm trying to think of a better way we're protective over the cadets. I mean, we definitely have a lot of information, a lot of stuff to kind of feed them in a very short amount of time. And we spend so much time with them every day. They spend as much time here at the Academy as they do at home. They probably see their classmates and their instructors, the staff, more than they do their families a lot of times in 6 months. And so we get to know them very well. And, I treat them like I would like my kids pretty much by the end of this thing, right? I want the best for them. We all want the best for them. We take it very seriously. And so, we don't, we definitely want to pick and choose where we send them out to. Obviously, if if the chief tells us he wants the cadets helping out with a certain event, they're going to help out with that. But we try not to just send them out and do every little thing that's asked of them, because I mean, their job is to kind of learn this. So, I mean, it's, you know, like I said, it's pretty secure here. We don't just let anybody sit in. And even officers that want to come, every officer wants to know what the cadets are doing. They all went through the academy. They get a kick out of watching the cadets do specific training, taser or OC spray or whatever it is, right? And they want to come, and we don't just let any officer come in here and watch it either. It's not a show, you know, it's, we take it very seriously. So that's, you know, that's kind of, and it gets more serious the further it goes along.
Oh, absolutely. And as someone pointed out, and as Officer Neal just said, yeah, the Citizens Police Academy is a great opportunity for civilians to learn what our officers are learning, get to experience a lot of these things in a firsthand way that is not available to the general public for many reasons. So yeah, if the CPA is getting ramped up again, the Citizens Police Academy, and that's run with the academy, but separate from it, but an incredible amount of overlap. So if folks are interested in learning more about the programs that APD puts on, the training that the cadets get, the Civilian Police Academy really is a great way to do that and to learn. It's a commitment to time, but a lot less than the cadets are making with their commitment, but definitely worth doing. All right, are there any other questions? I think, yeah, go ahead, Annie.
I don't really have a question, but having just completed the Citizen Police Academy, I would encourage everybody who could, and I know it's a commitment in time, especially if you're working, because it is 6 to 9, 2 days a week. But I went through some scenarios in the reality-based training center, and I mean, it really gives you a feel for what officers are up against when they have to, how many things they have to think about, what they have to do. And I would encourage anybody who has questions about how the force is organized or any kind of training to really take that, because it is just excellent. And I felt like it was worth every minute that I spent on it.
Excellent. Yeah, you can't beat the endorsements of the folks who have gone through that, especially recently. I went through it 6 years ago and it's changed remarkably. So I'm trying to gear myself up to go through it again. But it's absolutely worth it. And you get a chance there to see and to interact with officers at a level that we often don't get the chance to do. So definitely worth signing up. Okay, I don't see any other questions at this point. So thank you both, Officer Neal and Officer Treadaway, for joining us and giving us that oversight. And we appreciate you joining us and taking the time out from your schedules to be here with us this evening.
Great. No, thanks for having us. We appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, next on our agenda, I don't believe we have any old business to discuss. So we'll move on to our new business. And I'd just like to reiterate this coming Tuesday, June 22nd, is the next Coffee with a Cop. And this is from 9 to 11 a.m. at the Starbucks at 3401 Highway 528. And that is in the same parking area. It's the large area that has Lowe's there. It's near Bed Bath & Beyond and Petco. So right there on 528, 9 to 11 a.m. Tom, did you have something?
Yes, I did. I wanted to tell people about CERT. Can I do that? So CERT is a Community Emergency Response Team. I'm a CERT member, and they're going to do training this fall. And if anybody would like to go, they have to contact the Office of Emergency Management and ask for a guy named Nick and see if we can get you on the schedule. It fills up pretty quick. Last time I went, just as a refresher, there must have been 50 people there. So tell you a little bit about community response. What it does basically is that time lag between a plane crash in the West Side and getting enough police and fire departments and ambulances to the scene. If we have a community member who is nearby, he can be a first responder, somebody who can go and respond and try to help. They give you a hat and something that lets everybody know you're a CERT member. They give you training in a little bit on first aid. They give you a little bit of training on fire, a little bit of training on rescue. So it's really a nice program, and they're trying to expand it so that they have them groups all over the city. And some of the things they may help with is like the balloon fiesta. They may help that. They've been helping when they were giving out the shots for the coronavirus, managing the lines and the traffic. So they do other things community-wise beyond first responders. But like I said, they're going to have some training. I think I'm going to go to it to help them in September. And I don't exactly know when the first classes are going to start, but usually not too far after that. And they give you some equipment. You get a knapsack with some tools and things like that in it. And it's a nice thing. So I wanted to let everybody know about that. The other thing I wanted to ask was Pete. Pete, are we having the night out against crime this year? Is he still here?
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone
There he
hear
is.
me?
Yep, we got you, Pete.
Great. Yes, Tom, August 3rd will be our national night out. Last year with the COVID, it was canceled. So what people need to do is go to the Albuquerque Police Department website and then type in National Night Out, register if you want to be a host. And what will happen, this information will be given to the respective area commanders. And at that time, the commanders will assign Lieutenant, Sergeant, Crime Prevention. And that evening, we will go to different various National Night Out functions.
Excellent. So yeah, November, it's Tuesday, August the 3rd. And yeah, get registered, and the department tries to hit as many events as they can, and let folks know who's in their area, and get to meet the officers in a more relaxed setting again.
We also get the city council to come and a representative from the mayor's office, some representative like the Parks Department, and they'll come down and answer questions. And it's in my community, in my block, it's a block party. So everybody brings something to eat. We all sit around, we get to talk, listen to all the people. It's really a nice way to bond your community together. And so it's a good thing. Nothing bad happens there. And so I wanted to see this year. We missed it last year, and it was quite.
You're cutting out on us, Tom. I think you may have frozen up on us.
My Wi-Fi, I'm sorry. I think it's the weather. But
Yeah,
anyway, it's a good thing. So if you'd like to participate, get involved, and it'll be really a nice night.
excellent. Thank you for reminding us about that too. Okay, are there any matters from the public? I don't see anything popping up in our chat. I think hopefully we've had a chance to answer everyone's questions. We do have the meetings here are the third Wednesday of every month. So our next meeting will be scheduled for July 21st. So if anybody has questions they'd like answered, you can email me. I send out email reminders to folks, so you can reply back to that email or northwestcpc@cabq.gov, and we'll be happy to answer your questions. If you have any suggestions or recommendations that you would like us to address, let us know. We're happy to take those. And as you saw tonight, the commander from the Northwest Area Command is usually with us to answer citizen questions and concerns. All right, is there anything from anyone else on the council?
Eric, I just wanted to say that hopefully next month we will be able to meet in person. I talked to someone at the Don Newton Community Center this afternoon, and they're waiting to get out of the turquoise color. And she said to call back after the 1st of July. Also,
Excellent.
I told you I talked to somebody over at Ladera.
Yes.
There's no problem with us having a in-person meeting at Ladera on Wednesday night, except they close at 7 and we would have to be done by 7. And she said, can you start earlier? And I said, I don't know. I don't think so. She said we could meet on a Thursday night, but on Thursday night, they have a little thing called Thirsty Thursday. So you can imagine what that is. And there's a band, and that would be held outside. So I don't think that's going to work either. However, the room, if anybody needs a room for because we're the CPC and we are part of APD, it would be free. So hopefully we'll be able to get to the Don Newton next month. Just
Everyone
Yeah,
have adult beverages during the presentation might make it a little different.
it'll definitely change the tone of the meetings, that's for sure.
yes, it certainly would.
Yeah.
We
So I
probably
know,
get DUIs on the way home.
yes. So I know Kelly and Martisa have been working on helping us sort out when we can get back to in-person meetings, and we'll get that information out to folks as quickly as we can, as soon as we have an update on when that's going to occur. But I would expect we probably will be back at the Don Newton Taylor Ranch Community Center for in-person meetings. So
And I
it's
had also,
something.
pardon me, I had also talked to Pete about the Northwest substation, and I said we had met there before, but the only problem was parking. So
Yes.
that's something we can talk to Pete about next Tuesday.
Yeah, so definitely another possibility. The community center is pretty close to central in our area command, which is
Right.
really nice.
It is.
But yeah, if anybody's got suggestions on other locations where we could do in-person meetings, let us know. We're happy to do what we can to accommodate as many folks as possible.
Eric,
All
this
right.
is Pete. If I could mention something.
Sure.
Sure. This past weekend, the neighborhood associations are starting to have their in-person meeting. I attended the Laurelwood Neighborhood Association at their local park. So that was outside and we were still abiding by COVID rules. Tomorrow I'm attending the Boulder HOA meeting. So maybe we could find a park with lots of trees and shade that everyone would be comfortable, and until we're allowed to go inside, maybe we could do a meeting at a park.
Okay, that's definitely sounds good. Be very interesting, and yeah, let's see what we can work out. But thank you for that. And for those who don't know, Pete is our crime prevention specialist here in the Northwest. So he is the person that handles neighborhood watch and neighborhood patrol programs. And we can't let a meeting go by without suggesting to everyone that you get a neighborhood watch started on your block if you don't already have one. It's free, and Pete is the contact person. You can send him an email and he will respond with all of the information you need. The neighborhood watch program is a block by block system. So it's you and the houses you can see from your front walk. So you're not having to organize your entire neighborhood or anything like that. It's you and your immediate neighbors, and a great way to help cut down on crime and get to know your neighborhood folks and look out for each other. So Pete is here just about every month with us as well. And if you have questions for him, his email's already in the chat. Feel free to reach out to Pete, and he's always been a great resource for us. All right, I'm not seeing anything else coming up in the questions or chat. I think we will go ahead and call this a meeting. And thank you to everyone for joining us. Thank you to all of our new council members for being here with us. And we look forward to seeing everyone again in the next meeting in July. And we will let you know where that's going to be held. It'll be 6 p.m. again, but we'll see what we can do about a location. All right. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening. Stay warm, stay cool out there, and stay safe. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have an excellent evening, everyone. Thank you.
You too. Thanks again. Thanks, Kelly, and thank you, Martisa.